This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
And it is Wednesday, April 22nd, day 93, I believe, of Trump 2.0, and things are happening at Trump speed. Tariffs, deportations, not fast enough, but he's working on it. Hirings, firings, stock market is soaring, but wait a few minutes. We're not going to jump the gun, but it's over 40,000. That is a good thing. But we're still waiting for one thing. I think I speak for millions out there who voted for Donald Trump and who expected one thing by now: an arrest. We need arrests. I know it sounds dramatic, but for the last 4 years before Trump returned, we watched the Biden administration weaponize the Justice Department, send the FBI after Trump supporters, put Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon in jail, attempt to put Trump in jail many, many times, charged him with 93 felonies, totally made up. The silly-ass E. Jean Carroll rape case, which was the most absurd case of all, the made-up falsified records case in New York, the raid on his home at Mar-a-Lago. It was corruption. It was weaponization. It was out of control. It was criminal, is what it was. We saw criminals run wild for 4 years. And now we sit here 3 months plus into the second Trump administration, and we wonder, when are we going to get retribution? When are they going to start putting people in handcuffs? I know the media will go crazy. I know the Democrats will go wild, accuse Trump of weaponizing the DOJ. But I think we have to talk about justice. We have to talk about fairness. How can we let them get away with it? How can we just move on? That can't happen. I think Trump is doing a good job of looking forward. Obviously, he talks about the phony cases against him all the time. But there are so many people still running free who committed crimes. And I don't know where to begin, but I can think of a lot of people who belong in handcuffs, who belong in court, who should be charged, who should be indicted. I'm not sure what everybody else thinks, but why not start with Adam Schiff? We know he lied over and over again. Why not start with the January 6th committee? We know they obstructed justice. We know they destroyed evidence. We know that. We don't even need an investigation, at least not, I don't. I know there will be one, but what about Liz Cheney? What about Adam Kinzinger? How about Letitia James? We now know that Letitia James falsified records when she applied for mortgages to get lower rates. It seems pretty black and white to me. How about an indictment of Letitia James? Fannie Willis. Hell, we know Fannie Willis said in court that she used campaign funds to go on trips with her boyfriend. She hired him, used taxpayers' money to pay him, and then he paid for the trips. And she said she paid him back. And she admitted some of that money came from her campaign funds. I think she confessed to a crime under oath in court. When is she going to be indicted? How about Jack Smith? How about Andrew Cuomo? The DOJ, the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, referred him to the DOJ for crimes during COVID. We know what he did. He not only put elderly people with COVID in nursing homes, resulting in the death of some 15,000 New Yorkers, but then he covered it up. Then he lied about it. What are we waiting for? How about Mark Milley? We know he committed treason. He said he called his Chinese counterpart and told him he would warn him if Trump were to take some action against China. We know that I know he got the preemptive pardon, but there's got to be a way to bring Mark Milley to justice. Merrick Garland, the architect of all weaponization of the DOJ. Joe Biden's hitman. What about him? What's he doing? Let's get some time. Let's indict him. And of course, to me, the most obvious choice, the one thing that I think will bring the country together, the one man who affected everybody, who impacted everyone's lives and did the most damage in this country, a guy who absolutely destroyed the U.S. economy, a guy who ruined lives, ruined children's lives, who shut down small businesses, ruined people's livelihood. And that, of course, would be one Dr. Anthony Fauci. He's 84 years old. He is filthy rich. We'll get to that. And he, more than anyone I've ever seen, lied under oath repeatedly. We watched as he went at it with Rand Paul. Rand Paul was right. Fauci was wrong. Everything he said was wrong. And we know why he lied. We know why he lied about the lab leak, which now we can all agree the virus came from a lab in Wuhan. We always suspected it. This reprobate told us over and over again that was unknown, or he said it was most likely from the wet market or from a bat or from a pangolin. He was lying then. Why? Because he funded the lab that created the virus that killed 7 million people. If you can't indict Tony Fauci, forget it. Let's just call it a day. Let's just forget ever bringing any of these people to justice. I think we don't even quite grasp the damage he did as we sit here 4 or 5 years later. I mean, I did a whole show on one friend who owned a gym for 30 years, a neighborhood gym. People loved this gym. He did everything. It was a couple. They did everything they could to comply. They put up yellow tape and moved the machines around. They couldn't survive. They lost their business. That's one of tens of thousands of small businesses that were destroyed for no reason. That shouldn't have happened. Kids shouldn't have been out of school. The country shouldn't have been shut down. The playgrounds shouldn't have been closed, and skate parks, and people shouldn't have been arrested for paddleboarding alone in the Pacific Ocean. It was an insane time in this country, and the one man most responsible for it walks free. Not only does he walk free, but he walks free fabulously wealthy. I'm not sure if you saw this story from yesterday. This is from the New York Post. Dr. Anthony Fauci's fortune doubled, hitting $15 million between 2019 and the end of 2023 over the course of the pandemic, including during the worst of the draconian lockdowns, according to records obtained by a watchdog group. Fauci's net worth was about $7.6 million in January 2019 before COVID hit, and it surged to $15 million by the end of 2023. Financial disclosures forms obtained by Watchdog Group opened the books revealed. The doctor who previously helmed the NIAID officially left the government at the start of 2023, later than previously known. His first year in retirement, when he earned $3.5 million. He had the highest salary a federal employee's ever had and the highest pension a federal employee had. And we need hearings. We need him under oath again, because I believe a lot of that money came from drug companies, pharmaceuticals, just like he got rich, just like lots of people in the NIH and the CDC got rich from pharmaceutical companies. And don't forget, this is a man who did everything he could to shut down dissent, to shut down any voices who questioned him, experts who wouldn't allow ivermectin, tried to ban ivermectin, even though he knew it worked. Why? Because he wanted you to take the vaccine. Everything he did, you go back, watch it, listen. Everything he did was motivated by one thing, pushing the vaccine. He was the greatest big pharma salesman ever. He knew the vaccine wasn't necessary for children, for teenagers, for babies. He kept pushing it. He knew this affected the elderly, the obese, people with comorbidities. He knew kids didn't need it, and he pushed it anyway. And if you questioned him, he used his connections and he shut you down. He censored Americans. He suppressed their First Amendment rights. That's what this scoundrel did for years. And he did it because he was power drunk and he was venal and he was trying to get rich. And he did. And when it was over, he kept his security team, which cost taxpayers over $20 million a year, so he could live like a king. And for some reason, there are a number of Americans who still think he did nothing wrong. He's a Georgetown professor now, I believe. They still have buildings named after him at Holy Cross College. The media still thinks, they still defend him to this day. We need it all out in the open. We need to know everything he did, because I have no doubt. I read the RFK Jr. book, The Real Anthony Fauci. It is laid out in detail. And this scoundrel's been doing it his whole life. He's been doing the bidding of the pharmaceutical companies, and he's been cashing in. He didn't sue RFK. No, didn't. I don't even think he threatened to sue RFK, because he can't. He knows what RFK says is true. And I'm all for moving forward, putting things behind us and moving forward at Trump speed. But he can't get away with this. And again, he's 84. I don't know how much longer he has. People who have real evil in their hearts, they tend to live longer. I have my theory. You see people like Whitey Bulger or George Soros or Nancy Pelosi. They live longer because they have no conscience. This man is without conscience. He knows people died, lives were ruined. He knows kids suffered. He knows 2-year-old autistic kids didn't need masks on planes, but he didn't care. He lied to you over and over again. And you know what? He's such an egomaniac, such a narcissist, that he did it on video over and over again. There has never been more evidence against a criminal than there is against this scoundrel. It is truly striking. This is an amazing revelation from Open the Books. He earned the highest salary for a government bureaucrat before taking retirement, taking in $480,000 in his final year. He announced he was retiring in 2022, but he hung on until 2023 just for the money, just to increase his pension and his salary. He made $3.5 million, I believe the number is, for a book that I don't think anybody read. Look into that too. Who paid him? Why would you pay him? And he got bonuses after bonuses. This is when people went broke. This is when people like my friend lost their businesses. This is when families were ruined. People died. People committed suicide. People got hooked on drugs. It was an awful time in this country, and it didn't have to be. We know that now. Credit to the White House, by the way. They changed the website. The White House official website on the virus now says, let's see, Trump administration replaced the longstanding information on the website on the pandemic with one promoting the lab leak theory that the virus originated in Wuhan, before it's dubbed Lab Leak, the True Origins of COVID. This is what the Trump administration did last week. They changed it to admit that it was a lab leak, which we all knew all along. Did anyone ever doubt it? It's such a clear, he has such a clear motivation. He can't admit it came from a lab leak because he funded the lab. So he lied to you, said it came from Pangolin, and the media, of course, dutifully carried his water and promoted his lies. Well, I don't care what the media says. I don't care what the Democrats say. He has to be brought to justice. I've heard from reliable sources that no one is above the law. Well, is this scoundrel above the law because he's old? Because they named buildings after him? Because he was a bureaucrat for 50 years? Why should he go free? Why should he skate? Because of pushback from his dutiful lapdogs in the media? So what? He needs to be arrested, not called out by Rand Paul. He needs handcuffs. He needs criminal charges. He needs to be brought to justice. We all lived through the 4 years. We all lived through his lies. We all were forced to mask and told to stay inside and told to stay on the little arrows when we went to CVS. It was all a lie. He knew it. We knew it. He pushed it anyway. And I will say this. It is justice that RFK Jr. is now running the department. Not just RFK Jr., but Jay Bhattacharya and Marty McCary. The three of them were standing up there yesterday. These were the most targeted, the most censored Americans because of him. You know what the first person the Biden administration censored when they took office in 2021? RFK Jr. I believe it was 13 hours after he was sworn in. Biden's people reached out to big tech, Silicon Valley, and said, shut him down. He now runs the department. He knows everything this guy did. It is time to seek justice. Just a reminder of what a flip-flopping liar Fauci was. Again, he couldn't stay away from the cameras. He can't lay low. He couldn't help himself. He went out there every day, told you one day to wear a mask. Next day, masks don't work. Told you that he never mandated or recommended vaccine mandates. Yes, he did. He told you he didn't shut down the country. Yes, he did. He said it on video. Here's just a sample of some of the flip-flopping from the evil elf. Go ahead.
People should not be walking around with masks. Let me just state for the record that masks are not theater. Wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and masks are protective, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. There has not been any indication that putting a mask on and wearing a mask for a considerable period of time has any deleterious effects. There are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
Then can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course.
You do not need to wear a mask indoors if, in fact, you've been vaccinated. Good that you're vaccinated, but in a situation where you have people indoors, particularly crowded, you should wear a mask.
So even if you are vaccinated, you should wear a mask. If in fact you are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you are protected, and you do not need to wear a mask outdoors or indoors. When the children go out into the community, you want them to continue to wear masks.
You know, if you look at children outside, particularly when they're with the family, walking down the street, playing a game or what have you, don't have to wear a mask.
The Academy of Pediatric actually makes that recommendation that children should be wearing masks from 2 years old onward.
And you're asking now, if your child is a member of your household, can you walk outdoors with your child without a mask? According to that chart, the answer is yes.
But the child can't, not to beat it to death.
Yeah. Yes.
Because now the CDC says, I mean, I think I've got this right. 1 mask is better than 0 masks. 2 masks is better than 1 mask, but you don't have to have double masks. Is that right? I mean,
it became clear that cloth coverings that you didn't have to buy in a store, that you could make yourself, were adequate. And then you wanted to fit better. So one of the ways you could do it, if you would like to, is put a cloth mask over, which actually here and here and here, where you could get leakage in, is much better contained.
are you a double masker, Dr. Fauci? It looked like you are.
Oh, God. I can't believe we lived through that. What a nightmare. That is like frightening that we had to watch and listen to this liar every day. And I always thought, when we realized just what a scumbag he was, that, there'd be a day we could all agree that he was a fraud and a liar. And most people, reasonable people who have paid attention, agree. They know that what he did was just contemptible. What he did hurt people, hurt children, hurt families. So what are we doing now? Why now are we just going to say, well, we're moving on. That was a regrettable time in America. Well, it's not over for people who lost everything, who lost small businesses, who lost family members, whose children have never recovered from being forced to sit inside and miss school and miss interacting with other children, who are forced to gag themselves just to go outside and go to the store. It's just sickening, absolutely sickening. Here it is at Holy Cross. The Integrated Science Complex was named the Anthony S. Fauci Integrated Science Complex on January 11th last year. So students at Holy Cross now go to the Fauci complex to study. I mean, what the hell are we doing? Do they not read? Do they not pay attention? It is truly criminal. Do we have that clip with him saying he never shut down the country? This was the most egregious. Obviously, you can't keep track of the lies from this reprobate. You can't. But the worst one was he told Trump and Biden to shut down the country, and they did. And we will never recover from the damage that did to this nation. No one in the 250-year history, has done more damage to the country than this one man who sits somewhere right now, probably looking at a mirror, probably looking at one of the portraits he has himself in his home office, just waiting for a call from Stephanopoulos or Jonathan Karl and waiting for his next TV appearance. He sits there with his millions and millions, and you know it's much more than 15 million. You know he knows how to hide the money. It's some of the money. And he somehow is not being he's not being brought to justice. It's just wrong. Here he is telling you he never shut down the country, but he actually did shut down the country.
It was the personification of me as the person who essentially closed everything down. Those were public health recommendations that came from the CDC, and I have always been very supportive of the CDC.
And when it became clear that when we had community spread in the country with a few cases of community spread, this was way before there was a major explosion like we saw in the Northeastern corridor driven by New York City metropolitan area. I recommended to the president that we shut the country down.
And he will say over and over again, he never recommended shutting the country down. We need hearings with victims, people who were with vaccine injuries, people with myocarditis, people who lost their businesses, people whose children have never recovered. I mean, obviously, these people that I listed, Letitia James and Fannie Willis and Adam Schiff and Liz Cheney and Andrew Cuomo, obviously they are bad people. Obviously, they're criminals. But no one comes close to this guy. Nobody in history. Can you throw that video from RFK Jr., because this is glorious, and I don't think people appreciate it enough. I don't think they understand enough. These guys are heroes. They tried to tell you the truth about Fauci. They tried to tell you the truth about everything, vaccines, masks, ivermectin, you name it. And Fauci would never debate them. He would never have a exchange of ideas or theories. He's such a little tyrant that he just shut them down. Respected doctors like Bhattacharya and McCary. Look at them now. How do you like them now? Fauci, you garden gnome. How do you like them now? These are the guys you thought you had shut down forever. And there they stand at your old spot, at the podium, at the HHS, surrounding RFK Jr. as they announce the elimination of food dyes. Let's just listen to a little of RFK. I just love this. If you were watching, cable news and paying attention, these guys were right. These guys were heroic. Their effort, the Great Barrington Group, the Great Barrington document explaining just how wrong Fauci was, that was suppressed. He reached out to big tech and just shut them down. He's a tyrant. He's an authoritarian, to use one of the Democrats' favorite word these days. But here are these three heroes yesterday.
When I met with, and I want to commend the food companies for working with us to achieve this agreement or this settlement. And when I went in a few months or about a month ago to meet with a few food companies, I was talking with my staff about these petroleum-based dyes, and I said, if they want to add petroleum, if they want to eat petroleum, they ought to add it themselves at home. But they shouldn't be feeding it to the rest of us. And
this is justice right there. I want more justice. Don't get me wrong. I want Fauci in handcuffs, but this is these three guys standing up there yesterday. That is justice for this country. That right there. These two who were standing next to RFK were heroic. They were fearless, and they were shut down by Fauci and Biden and his whole censorship complex. And there they stand, leaders in the HHS. That picture is just perfect. God bless them, and congratulations to them. By the way, a lot of the people who would be calling, some of the people who would be calling for arrests, like I am, like a number of people are calling for arrests, they're now in a position to make these arrests. Nobody would be screaming louder today than Dan Bongino. If he were still on the radio, still doing podcasts, he would be saying it daily. We need arrests. We need justice. He's now the deputy director of the FBI. Kash Patel, I just read his book. It's great. Government Gangsters. He lays out the crimes these people committed, one after another. The people behind the Russia hoax, the people behind the FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago. He names names. And I know it's early, it's 3 months, but when are we going to see some of these people that you detailed, that you documented, committed crimes? When do they get held to account? That's what I want to know. Now is the time. By the way, before we move on, I commend him on food dyes. He makes a good case. I understand that Fruit Loops in the U.S. are different than Fruit Loops in Canada or the U.K. I understand that these things are just for aesthetics. They have no health benefits. In fact, as he explains, they may be causing some of this chronic illness epidemic. But I had to pause when I saw a report about ham. And, I obviously understand that Starburst and Fruit Loops and Cocoa Pebbles, I understand the problem with that they're just to give them color. But it's the same with ham. I just learned that ham is no longer going to be pink. And I was like, what? The pink in ham is artificial. The pink in ham is going to be banned, and ham is now going to be gray. And I'm like, I love ham. I love, ham sandwiches and ham and eggs. And it's going to be gray. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. I guess I'll have to get used to that. But it's going to look like pork, I was told. Once the ban goes into effect, that's going to be weird. Picking up a little ham and it's going to look like bland and gray. I don't know if it's going to taste the same, but I guess it's for my own good. I didn't know I was consuming food dye every time I ate a piece of ham, but again, it's for the better. I will trust. I'll put my trust in RFK. He hasn't lied to me yet. His book, I'll recommend it yet again. Buy it, read it. You will not believe what a scoundrel the real Anthony Fauci is, and you will not believe how much you've been lied to, not just by him, but by the media for the last 5 years. All right, we got a lot to get to. We got to move on. Bad news for deadbeats with graduate degrees. Caroline Leavitt laid it out clearly. They have to start paying their bills. Yes. How heartless. Where's the compassion? Donald Trump is going to make people pay back the loans they took out. He's not going to leave it. He's not going to stick the tab with people who didn't go to college or paid their bills, did the right thing. The people who actually took the loans are going to have to pay them back. That is a great thing. And I've had enough. I've had enough of people calling. You can criticize Trump, hate Trump all you want. I got news for you. He's not a Nazi. You sound ridiculous. Yes, we have a whole bunch of people who are doubling down on Trump the Nazi. It's just ridiculous. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
Listen up, Ironhead. This is important. This is for you because I know sometimes late at night you go into incognito mode, when you're looking for love. But did you know that incognito mode is not enough to hide your browsing history? Check the fine print, pal. All your online activity is still 100% visible to a ton of third parties unless you use ExpressVPN. Without ExpressVPN, these third parties can still see every website you visit, even in incognito mode. They can see your internet service provider, your mobile network provider, the admins of your Wi-Fi network, like your school, your boss, your parents. ExpressVPN reroutes 100% of your traffic through secure encrypted servers so third parties can't see your browsing history. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making it extremely difficult for third parties to track your online activity. It's easy to use. That's important to me. Fire up the app and click one button to get protected. And it works on all devices, phones, laptops, tablets, and more, so you can stay private on the go. Even if you're not watching porn, you want your data protected. You want your text protected. You don't want to take any chances. Protect your online privacy today by visiting expressvpn.com/Gerry. That's EXPRESSVPN.com/Gerry. And you can get an extra 4 months free. expressvpn.com/Gerry. I've heard recently that defying the Supreme Court is a bad thing. Presidents shouldn't defy the Supreme Court unless you're Joe Biden. And the Supreme Court says you can't forgive student loans. You can't just forgive. You can't just make the taxpayers pick up the tab for students who took out loans they couldn't afford for worthless degrees and then say, well, magically, they're gone. You don't have to pay. It always was outrageous. And the Trump administration is making it right. This is from the Daily Mail. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Tuesday she warned Joe Biden's, quote, illegal student bailout is ending and those in default must pay back their loans. These people haven't paid their debts. They haven't paid their bills for 5 years. On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers. More than 442 million student loan borrowers who owe a collective $1.6 trillion have not made payments in the past year. The number is expected to grow to 4 million borrowers approaching default status. Now, let's get this straight. This was a scam. This is a scam from the beginning. The federal government took over student loans, encouraged people to take out loans, to go to college, to get worthless degrees at schools they couldn't afford. And when they got out, they had trouble paying. And Joe Biden said, you know what? I'm going to try to buy the votes of these 42 million. I'm not going to make them pay it back. And they say they're forgiving. We're going to forgive the loans. Well, you can't forgive a loan. Someone's got to pay it. So it was left to people who didn't take out loans they couldn't afford, who didn't go to schools they couldn't afford, who went to work, who went to community college, who commuted, who paid back their loans. They had to pay for the loans that the deadbeats, and 56% of them have graduate degrees, but they don't want to pay their loans. So you, going to work, doing the right thing, have to pay the debts of doctors and lawyers and professors and Karine Jean-Pierre and AOC. You got to pay their bills. It never made any sense. It was always outrageous. And Trump, thankfully, promised to make it right, and he's making it right. Caroline Leavitt, as usual, did a great job of explaining it from the podium yesterday. Here she is.
In other news, the Trump administration has announced we will put an end to Joe Biden's illegal student loan bailout attempts. No student loan has been referred to collection since March of 2020. That comes to an end. On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers with defaulted federal student loans. The student loan portfolio controlled by the federal government is nearly $1.6 trillion, but fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. This is unsustainable, unfair, and a huge liability for American taxpayers. Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans? The Trump administration will never force taxpayers to pay student loan debts that don't belong to them. Student loan borrowers need clarity, and we're finally giving it to them. Borrowers will now be clearly expected to repay their loans, and those who default on their loan obligations will face involuntary collections. The government can and will collect defaulted federal student loan debt by withholding money from borrowers' tax refunds, federal pensions, and even their wages.
Yes.
$36 trillion in debt. We must get our fiscal house in order and restore common sense to our country. If you take out a loan, you have to pay it back. It's very simple.
These people are just radical. I mean, Trump's gone too far. I mean, where's the compassion? People who took out loans have to pay them back. And if they don't, they'll wages. I don't know if many of them have. Can you attach them to, welfare payments? I don't know how many of them have wages, but they're going to try to claw back this money. Oh God, this is such a common sense thing. You got to pay your loan back. You took it out. Now you got bad advice. There is a case to be made for you as a victim because you were lied to by Democrats, by schools, colleges, guidance counselors, whatever, who told you, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't go to Wesleyan. Maybe you shouldn't go to Tufts or Middlebury, but the government will give you money and then you'll pay it back in 10 years. Maybe you won't pay it back. And they fell for it. They were victims of a scam, but still, someone has to pay it back. Either the people who took out the loans or people who didn't take out the loans. I know who I think should pay it back. You should, if you took out the loans. You were scammed, but sorry, live and learn, pay back your loans, and do the right thing. I want to get to this Nazi story. Let me tell you what I did on Saturday. I was in D.C. I've always wanted to go to the Holocaust Museum in D.C., and I can't recommend it enough. It is just chilling. It is powerful. It will buckle your knees. It is so graphic. As I was saying, and the people I was with, and other people say, how do they have all this footage, all these photos, all this video? It is mind-boggling. We get to see, whether you like it or not, we get to see them bulldozing bodies into ditches. We get to see them. You get to see Eisenhower liberating the camp, walking through the camp, seeing these emaciated people. But you've seen the corpses. You see them shooting. They didn't just put everyone in gas chambers. They shot them in ditches and killed millions. As we know, they killed 6 million Jews. They killed more than 10 million people. The war cost the lives of 60 million people. It was the greatest atrocity in human history. Nobody is Adolf Hitler except Adolf Hitler. Nobody. Whatever Trump does, whatever any leader does, it doesn't compare. Okay, you're just an idiot if you bring up the name Hitler. Say he's Hitler, and yet right now, people do it so cavalierly, and either they're just historically illiterate or they're just stupid. And I understand when you got some moron and a key in a Tesla swastika saying you're a Nazi, Elon Musk's a Nazi, you're just stupid. I don't think Larry David's stupid. Al Gore, he's kind of stupid. Chris Matthews, he's kind of stupid. These are people today comparing Trump because he's deporting illegal aliens or shutting down the border or making students pay back their loans. He's Hitler. It's just wrong. All right. You have to stop with the Hitler. You sound like a fool. And I always thought Larry David was a genius. He wrote an essay for the New York Times mocking Bill Maher for going to the White House to have dinner with Trump. Now you could disagree with that. You could say, don't give him the satisfaction of appearing with him. But Larry David does a whole essay on my dinner with Hitler, saying it's like going to have dinner with Hitler, having dinner with Trump, a guy who's been elected twice, a guy who's been stopped from fulfilling his agenda by courts, who was arrested, who was raided. He's not Hitler. You can hate him all you want. He's not Hitler. This is Larry David's essay. It's amazing a guy as smart and creative as Larry David could sound so stupid. And again, you have all these leaders. You have all these alleged, smart people. Al Gore, who was almost president. Chris Matthews saying he's Hitler. That's amazing. I can't even, it's not even a little bit funny. It's just sad that this is the point they've reached. They look at a man who they viscerally just hate, and they say he's just like a guy that put babies in gas chambers. A guy who murdered 6 million people in concentration camps, who invaded to take over the world, who started a war that cost 60 million lives, just like Hitler. That's Trump. Do we have Al Gore? This guy's such a clown. By the way, Al Gore making like his annual appearance because it was Earth Day. I know I talked about Fauci being a scoundrel. This guy's top of the list also. I mean, he's made hundreds of millions of dollars lying to the public about climate change. You can go back. He told you the ice caps would melt in Manhattan and be underwater. He's been wrong about everything, but he knows he's wrong. He doesn't believe this. He wouldn't have, mansions and private jets and limo if he believed any of the snake oil he's selling. He's been scamming the public for 20, 25 years and getting filthy rich doing it. But he shows up, he shows up sometimes at Davos and shows up at some of these climate events. The whole thing is such a scam. And he says, he's been told that he shouldn't compare anyone to Hitler. And then what does he do? Compares Trump to Hitler. Listen to this fool.
In mind, I want to note that before I use what is not a precedent, I understand very well why it is wrong to compare Adolf Hitler's Third Reich to any other movement. It was uniquely evil, full stop. I get it. But there are important lessons from the history of that emergent evil, and here is one that I regard as essential. In the immediate aftermath of World War II, a small group of philosophers who had escaped Hitler's murderous regime returned to Germany and performed a kind of moral autopsy on the Third Reich. The most famous of the so-called Frankfurt School of philosophers was a man named Jürgen Habermas, best known, I would say, but it was Habermas's mentor, Theodor Adorno, who wrote that the first step in that nation's descent into hell was, and I quote, the conversion of all questions of truth into questions of power. He described how the Nazis, and I quote again, attacked the very heart of the distinction between true and false, end quote. The Trump administration is insisting on trying to create their own preferred version of reality. They say Ukraine attacked Russia instead of the other way around, and expect us to believe it. At home, they attack heroes who have defended our nation in war and against cyber attacks as traitors. They say the climate crisis is a hoax invented by the Chinese to destroy American manufacturing. They say coal is clean. They say wind turbines cause cancer. They say sea level rise just creates more beachfront property. They're allies in the oligarchic backlash.
Oh, God, he's going to oligarchy.
Those who want to stop using.
You know what an oligarch is? This guy is an oligarch. This guy who has peddled a lie for 25 years and gotten fabulously wealthy. Let's just look at the bright side. He almost became president. Oh, God, what a disaster he would be. Every one of the almost. John Kerry, another flim-flam con artist selling climate snake oil, almost became president. Thank God. Thank God we dodged those bullets. I can't imagine. We had to live through 4 or 8 years of this absolute con man. Get back on your jet. Go back to your, Malibu mansion, and tell us again how the Manhattan's going to be underwater any day now. The ice caps are going to melt and kill us all. God, that is the one thing, the greatest thing, the most hopeful thing today is that we may finally be done with the climate change scam. Thank you, God. All right. You know what we're not going to be done with for a while is the Tesla terrorism, at least not in blue states. In red states, we may see justice. And I know we talked a lot about Jim Pellis. He is one of the Tesla terrorists. He was caught up in New Hampshire, up in the White Mountains, skiing a Tesla and then lying to police. And I tweeted about it and got 11 million views. Here he is. Oh, no, here's this is the Minnesota guy. We're going to get to him. Here's your difference. Jim the keyer up in New Hampshire, he keyed the Tesla, thought, Musk is a Nazi. So he's doing the right thing, keying a Tesla. The Tesla guy, the Tesla woman, probably a Democrat. She tweeted about it too, by the way. Video, showed you the video of this scumbag keying her Tesla. He was caught. He was arrested. He's been indicted. Can you get that press release from the New Hampshire authorities? I don't know. I just love this because they think they can get away with it. In some places they can. It's just acting out. It's social justice. Musk must be stopped. They've indicted him on felonies, at least 2 felonies. He's facing 3.5 to 7 years. He and his wingman, Chuck, who was the driver, who also lied to the cops, they're facing 3.5 to 7 years for felony destruction of property. And that's what happens. I mean, New Hampshire's a purple state, not a red state, but they don't look kindly on social justice. So you do this in some places, you're looking at hard time. We need people to go to jail. Again, it's the only way it stops. If we learned anything from 2020, from the George Floyd riots, is that if you tolerate this kind of criminal behavior, you just get more of it. I mean, you'll see more Teslas vandalized. This Jim the keyer, talk about regret. His whole life was turned upside down. His company was attacked on social media, and now he could be going to jail in New Hampshire. Now we'll wait and see. If he does 6 months, I'll be happy. But you got to make people pay a price. You can't just look the other way and say, it was done for the right reasons, because that's what they do in blue states. We got this. Here it is. I got it. That's okay, Ironhead. You can go back to sleep.
I just found it.
Press release. I don't need it. 2 Massachusetts men indicted for their role in purposely damaging Tesla Cybertruck. 2 Massachusetts men were indicted by a Coos County grand jury in connection with vandalizing a Cybertruck. James Pellis. 1 count of criminal mischief for damaging the driver's side panel with a sharp object, causing damage in excess of $1,500. Charles Smith was indicted for 1 count of accomplice to the crime. The charges are Class B felonies carrying a possible sentence of 3.5 to 7 years in New Hampshire State Prison. Let's just give them 6 months, a year. They need to go away. They made a big mistake. They keyed a Tesla, vandalized property in the wrong place. Now, if they did it in New Hampshire, a whole different deal. This is such a scandal, and it's not getting nearly enough coverage for obvious reasons. But you probably saw it, that this guy who works for Tim Walz, yes, he works for Tampon Tim. He's a state of Minnesota employee with the Department of Human Services. His name is Dylan Brian Adams, 33 years old. He keyed, I believe it was 6 Teslas, damaged them, caused $21,000 in damage. He will not face criminal charges. That is amazing. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty declined to file charges against a vandal caught on video damaging multiple Teslas over a weekend and a half in late March. Here he is with his dog, keying Teslas. Not one, not two, 6. How is this even possible? I guess this was, you do it in Minnesota where vandalism is apparently legal and you walk free. Amazing. This is what happens when you have a Attorney General, Keith Ellison, who is a communist, and you have a state attorney a county attorney, Mary Moriarty, who is a Soros-funded radical. They don't press charges. So go ahead. You're in a blue state. You're in Minnesota. Go nuts. Destroy property of fellow Democrats because you're mad that Elon Musk is exposing corruption and fraud in the federal government. By the way, Elon's going to step down. He said he'll spend more time with Tesla. Elon has lost billions. So another talking point, that Elon's stealing your money, getting rich is such a lie. He's paid such a price because of radicals like this piece of garbage, Dylan Adams. And we will forever owe him a debt of gratitude for being a selfless hero for trying to make the government more efficient. Before we go, I got to get to my Congresswoman, Ayanna Pressley. Again, I will go up against anybody. I have the worst elected officials, the worst representatives. I have Liz Warren. I have Ayanna Pressley. She is the worst of the worst. She went yesterday to Louisiana to visit the radical students who lied on their visa applications, who supported a terrorist organization, Hamas, and are going to be deported. Mahmoud Khalil, he's the most famous, the 30-year-old Columbia student who led the anti-Semitic protests and the vandalism and the destruction on the Columbia campus. He's being held in Louisiana. So a congressman from Massachusetts, also the Tufts grad student, another terrorist supporter who's down there. She went to visit them, took a day on the taxpayers to fly to Louisiana just to check on what she called her constituents. A reminder, this woman doesn't give a damn about her constituents. In her district, there was a rec center used by hundreds of kids in Roxbury. They kicked the kids out to make room for illegal aliens, and this woman never visited the rec center in her own district, never said a word. She cares about illegal aliens and foreign agitators. Those are her priorities. Her constituents, young black kids who just want to go to the gym, didn't give a damn. Here she is with Jim McGovern, another scoundrel, visiting the detention center just to check on these terrorist-supporting, Hamas-supporting radicals who are going to be removed. They're not going to be put in prison. They're not going to go to El Salvador. They're just going to be sent home because we don't want them here. Who wants them here? Why do you want someone here who supports a terrorist organization that is holding Americans, at least one, hostage? She is just the worst of the worst. But she's not going to, again, good job, Democrats. Good job. Keep going. You're doing great. By the way, update on Kilmar Abrego Garcia. We told you about that little incident in Tennessee in 2019, or in 2022, I'm sorry, when he was pulled over. Just the News confirms that he was pulled over in an SUV with 8 other people, no luggage, all illegal aliens. The car was owned by a convicted human trafficker. So Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a human trafficker. They suspected it. They wanted to charge him. The Biden FBI said, no, let him go. So he's not just a wife beater, not just a gang member. He's a human trafficker. And the Democrats are all in on trying to bring him back and put him back in your neighborhood. Just amazing. Keep going, Democrats. Keep it up. You're doing great. All right, that will do it for today, April 22nd. Let me check before we go. The Dow is up 900. Keep going. What are they going to say if the Dow comes back, if Trump makes deals with all these countries, if Trump isolates China and actually the whole plan comes together? What are they going to say?
That it's bad because it wasn't their idea.
Yeah, they'll find something. He's a Nazi. He's a Nazi. Shut up with the Nazi stuff, please. But that'll do it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we'll do it again tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my God. Is she crazy?
Thank you. Thank you
Wow.
all. Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, too many. Thank you.